What if the most feared force in the world wasn't an army, wasn't a missile, wasn't even a country, but an idea? A stubborn, spiritual, relentless idea that says, we'd rather die on our feet than live on our knees. This isn't about politics. This isn't about headlines. This is about Iran. Not the nation as you know it, but the soul of what drives it. Its refusal to surrender, its history of resistance, its identity forged in both pain and purpose. To understand Iran's ideology is to understand why no drone strikes, no sanction, and no propaganda campaign has ever broken it, and why the most powerful nation on earth can't control it. But to get there, to really understand what fuels Iran, we have to go back, way back, because long before the Islamic Republic ever existed, a stand was taken that still shakes empires today. In the year 680 AD, a man stood alone in the desert of Karbala. His name was Hussain, the grandson of the Prophet Muhammad, and he knew, without question, that he was going to die. Outnumbered, surrounded, no path to victory, no reinforcements, just a choice: submit to a corrupt empire or die standing for justice. He chose to die. That moment didn't stop a war. It didn't bring peace, but it lit a spark that never went out. To Shia Muslims, and especially to the political ideology that drives Iran, Hussein's stand wasn't just history. It's a blueprint, a lesson in sacrifice, a moral obligation to resist tyranny, even when the odds are hopeless. Now, this isn't some ancient myth locked away in holy books. It's alive, recited in sermons, reenacted in streets, remembered not with sadness, but with pride. Because to them, the ultimate defeat isn't death, it's surrender. And that belief, that death can be a victory, doesn't stay in the past. In Iran, it becomes policy.
The President and the Shah met for about an hour this morning. The President said the Shah's visit was encouraging and had strengthened the strong ties of friendship between the two countries.
Despite the temporary imposition of martial law, the Shah's new government appears determined to press ahead with liberal reform. It is from the mosques that opposition to the Shah is being led by puritanical Shiite Muslims. The religious zealots want to return to the Constitution of 1906, which would ensure all legislation conforms with Islamic law.
Almost 40,000 refinery workers went on strike today, virtually cutting off Iran's petroleum exports.
University students demonstrating in Tehran, shouting death to the Shah, pledge allegiance to the Islamic movement of the Ayatollahs.
The number killed in Tehran since the beginning of the month is probably well over 100, but people in this crowd were saying and believing 7,000 had been killed. Emotions over the dead and the rumors of dead are high.
Fast forward to 1979. An aging monarch backed by the West sits on the throne of Iran. Oil-rich, westernized, but beneath the surface, boiling anger, economic injustice, political repression. And then, the people rose, led not by generals, but by clerks, by scholars. But the idea that Islam wasn't just personal, it was political. The Islamic Revolution wasn't about religious domination. It was about reclaiming identity. No more submission to foreign powers. No more humiliation by foreign cultures. No more leaders who bowed to global interest while their people starved. It was radical, yes, but not in the way the West framed it. It wasn't about exporting Islam by force. It was about resisting moral decay, preserving dignity, and defying materialism. Just like Gandhi used Hindu values to fight colonialism, just like MLK drew strength from Christianity to fight racial oppression. Iran built a movement out of Shia Islam, with Karbala as its compass. But a belief system is just words, unless it can survive the real test, suffering, and Iran was about to face it. Since 1979, Iran has lived under some form of US-led economic war. Sanctions meant to break its back, to starve its people, to force surrender not with bullets but with banks. And here's where the most regimes would crack. But Iran, it adapted. Cut off from global markets, it built domestic industry. Blacklisted from global banks, it explored crypto, barter trade, and partnerships with China and Russia. The West thought sanctions would bring riots, but instead they brought innovation. More importantly, they created a shared sense of purpose. Hardships became identity. Sacrifice became pride. And yes, survival became resistance. This doesn't mean people don't suffer. They do, and many criticize the system. But unlike other sanctions nations, Iran didn't beg for relief. It doubled down. Because it's an ideological DNA. Suffering is a test, not a curse. And in a strange, brutal way, it worked. Iran created a resistance economy. Not perfect, not wealthy, but independent. But Iran's ideology wasn't just about surviving. It was about inspiring others. And that's what scares the West most. Iran didn't just resist for itself. It extended that ideology to the Houthis in Yemen, to Hezbollah in Lebanon, to militias in Iraq, to Palestinians in Gaza. These aren't just political alliances, they are spiritual ones, bound by a belief that injustice anywhere is everyone's fight. Iran sees itself not as a regional power, but as a voice for the oppressed. This isn't about Sunni versus Shia. This isn't about Persians versus Arabs. It's about the oppressed versus the system that oppresses. And that scares Washington far more than a missile ever could. Because you can bomb a building, you can freeze a bank account, but you cannot stop an idea that says, we are not afraid, we do not need you, we will rise anyway. That's why Iran's real threat isn't its military. It's that it represents the possibility of defiance. It dares to ask other nations, what if you didn't bow either? And in that question, in that challenge, lies the real fear that Iran won't just resist, it will awaken. Look, Iran is complicated, it has flaws, it makes mistakes, it's not a utopia. But one thing is undeniable. It refuses to be tamed. Its ideology, rooted in faith, in history, and sacrifice, isn't just a national project. It's a spiritual mission. And missions are hard to kill. Empires rise and fall based on control. But Iran doesn't want to control the world. It wants to survive it without surrendering its soul. And that, right there, is what terrifies the United States. Because it's easier to bomb a nation than to silence an idea. Easier to destroy a government than to defeat a memory. Easier to sell dreams than to understand sacrifice. But when a nation chooses principle over profit, when it raises children not on Disney or dopamine, but on Hussein and justice, that's not a threat you can negotiate with. That's a fire that refuses to die. So now that you know, don't ask why the US fears Iran. Ask why the world has forgotten what it means to stand for something, even when it costs everything. Thank you for watching, and may your search for the truth always be louder than their fear of it.